Silver and gold. Silver and gold. So pretty. Such a great metal. So conductive. Amazing for so many purposes. However, silver and gold led to the Minnesota fraud, the tax abuse scandal that we are all witnessing in real time, that people are up in arms over, rightfully so, losing their minds, tax revolts everywhere being talked about. And this is really the end game. This is what many people in the sound money community, the Bitcoin community, have been predicting for a long time. Even the precious metals community have been predicting this for a long time. Marty Bent had a great post about this, I believe earlier today, Tuesday, December 30th, chronicling all the people, all the places where this is going on. And all you need is first principle thinking to understand that this is the end game and inevitably going on everywhere. Every municipality, every state, all this fraud, the extortion, the racketeering, the money laundering, all happening. This is the incentive of a fiat currency system, but gold and silver let us. They led us here, unfortunately. Such a beautiful metal has so many purposes, but led us to exactly where we find ourselves today. Bitcoin forces you to learn these things. You can't see it from the gold and silver perspective. You can't see it from the fiat debt-based monetary Titanic. You can't see it from learning about insurance. You can't see it from learning about NVIDIA or tech stocks. Anywhere, nowhere can you see it unless you learn Bitcoin. You study Bitcoin. I didn't say buy Bitcoin. I said study Bitcoin. Now, sometimes buying Bitcoin does help people get in and actually understand what they're seeing, what they're learning about. But I was gold and silver guy 15 years ago. And I didn't see everything I could see. It's impossible. You cannot, because you're still on the Titanic. You cannot until you back off and get on the lifeboat, which is Bitcoin, until you can actually understand what's really happening. Because in gold and silver, everything is priced in dollars. And yes, people can say, well, Bitcoin's priced in dollars, but it's priced in sats. And you could say gold and silver is priced in ounces, but it's not, because no one prices anything in ounces. The reason gold and silver they've been around for 5,000 years as money, or 3,500 years, or back in Lydia in Greece, the first minted coins. The world that we find ourselves in is because the physicality, the beauty of gold and silver cannot go across space. So we have a debt-based system that is built on top of it, a fiat paper system, credit system built on top of this. There's two types of money. There's physical tangible tokens and there's ledgers. Again, GG's article, Bitcoin is Time, explains all this. But you cannot, again, you do not understand this world unless you go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. You can't understand it from learning just about gold and silver. So again, first principles would tell you this, but first principles aren't obvious unless you go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole and study Bitcoin and study first principles, game theory, adversarial thinking. You don't have to when you're in all these other asset classes. Hence why so many people find it so hard to understand what's actually happening. This is the oil spill, the fiat oil spill that affects everything downstream. And they're all stuck. Everyone is stuck fighting red versus blue. The Titanic can't go down. The US dollar can't go down. There's no way. The American empire is just too great. It's too big. It's too amazing. It's too wonderful. Well, guess what? It's going down, folks. It's hit the iceberg. Hit the iceberg a long time ago. Everyone has their time when they say it hit the iceberg. I would love, maybe in the chat, for people that are joining in. Pat, great to see you from Australia. When do you think that the iceberg was hit? Was it in 1913 with the Federal Reserve? Was it before that? Was it the changing of the school system? The Prussian school system starting here in America? Was it the Revolution? Was it the Civil War? Was it these different times where the British Crown lost and then they never could let it go, and they kept attacking America and had two central banks before the third central bank, which was in 1913? Or was it the World War I? Was it the creation of the IRS and Federal Reserve in 1913? The income tax and the IRS along with the Federal Reserve in 1913? Or maybe it was the confiscation of gold. Or maybe it was Bretton Woods in 1944. Or maybe it was 1964 when silver was coming out of the coins. Actual silver being, which they tell you can test, hey, you don't need an auditing machine though. See? You can hear that. See that really nice ting? Really high pitched? That's how you can tell it's real silver. Or so they say. So that's my assaying machine. So that's, this is the world that we are forced to live in. But I digress. 1971, when they took the gold, so we took the silver out of the money in 1964 in the coins, and then we took the gold backed by nothing now, the dollar was. So in 1971, the Nixon shock took us off the gold standard, and here we are. Here we are today. And then some say, again, SWIFT being frozen, freezing the Russians out of the system. I know Zoltan Pozar said that was Bretton Woods 3, where we were confiscating people's and freezing their assets, freezing their treasuries and freezing their cash. So this, again, this has led us to this, which we're going to talk about in a second. In the short term, gold and silver can work locally. And in the short term, it can. And even we have history that has shown us, even over a course of a couple hundred years, maybe people are a homogenous society, people that are trusting of each other, they look the same, whatever it might be, they have very strict rules. Maybe a family dynasty is imposing strict rules, which is not very often, on actually using gold and silver. They're not clipping them, they're not debasing them and melting them down. So those things can happen short term, in a shorter term windows generally. And you would love to, or you would have to ask the citizens to fund the programs, right? So if you had gold and silver, you'd have to ask the citizens to fund the programs with their gold and silver, or fund the wars. And no one would ever vote for them, right? Hence why Bitcoin and hard money is not promoted by governments. It must be demanded by the people. It must be demanded by the people. And again, gold and silver is in the Constitution, right? At the time, we didn't have Bitcoin. Gold and silver was the best thing we had. And if people were educated enough, it could, like we just said, it could last for a while. In locales, the smaller the community, if we know each other and we live next door and we trade gold and silver, it can work. In a global scale, though, obviously thousands of years of history shown us it cannot stand the test of time, because we have to trust men and middlemen over the course of that time. That time the value has generally held its value, right? But over space, we cannot do that. So having final settlement, all of a sudden, you can't do that with gold and silver because it's physical. I can't send something from here to Australia to something where PAC is. So all that middle time there, that 30 days, 60 days, those times to settle, whether it's shipping or flying there, the metal, that's where all the funny games come in. So you have to trust these people, or you have to say, he'd have to trust me that this is actual silver. So these are the different things that we find ourselves in this world where the best system for the government at the top, for them to have maximum amount of power, is a credit or a debt-based system, or a system based on paper, based on nothing, based on confidence, a con game. And saying, oh, it's a military, a barrel of a gun, forcing the IRS down your throat, or the military, or a police force, or whatever, and saying, hey, this is what you're going to do, or else. Well, that's the system we generally find ourselves here, really everywhere across the world right now, because we have nothing backing it. So we either have that, or energy is imposed on you, and the governments have to do this. So the best thing for governments to do is to have your money, your currency, backed by nothing. And then it ceases being money. Now it's no longer money. Now you just have a currency. And so it's not backed by anything of actual value. And then conversely, the best system for individuals in individual freedom and liberty is to have the hardest money humanly possible. And again, for thousands of years, it was gold and silver. We didn't have anything else. We talked about coming full circle to the Constitution, and it said in gold and silver. We didn't have Bitcoin at the time. So now we have the hardest money ever known to man. So at the time, they had gold and silver. And now, if they rewrote it, in my opinion, they would have put Bitcoin. Just like back then, they were using muskets for the Second Amendment. Well, I'm sure if the AR was there, or the AK or something like that, right, a 20 gauge or a 12 gauge, guess what? They would have put those in the Constitution as well. But these are general principles. These are first principles they're writing through as well. It's the principle that we're speaking of. And that's why it's so important. Gold and silver, again, were the best thing we had. And that's why the Founding Fathers wrote about this. They knew very well what was actually happening. So every state, like we talked about Marty Bent earlier, every state municipality has the same shit going on. The same stuff. And really quick, again, Pac, good to see you from Australia. Midwest Picker, great to see you. Warpaint, always good to see you guys. Stack the Dip, what's good? Johnny, Cranskinator, let's go. Let's go. Great to see you guys. Happy New Year's. Merry Christmas. It's going to be a wonderful year. It's going to be a wonderful end of this year. It's going to be a wonderful year going forward. We're going to be doing more car live streams. Might do a couple live streams a day. Do some mobile live streams, vertical live streams. We're going to do some different stuff this year. The podcasts are still going to be rolling. We had the one with Seb drop. We're going to have another one with Cameron McGregor tomorrow, which I think, in my opinion, it probably won't do well and won't reach the amount of people that it should reach. But Cameron's interview tomorrow that we're going to drop on New Year's Eve here is, I think, going to be the best trailer, thumbnail, title, everything, and just the best speaker, hour and 55-minute masterclass on the macroeconomic framework of what's going on in the world. You are not going to want to miss the pod I'm dropping tomorrow. He's about 40 years old, Naval Academy grad, and his thoughts on the world we are entering and Bitcoin, gold and silver are, there's a few people that can speak like him. Let's just say that. So yeah, we're all hoping Bitcoin has a strong 2026. And again, most people don't understand that. If Bitcoin has a strong 2026, again, that means the network is picking up. That means people are seeing what's happening. And the Minnesota fraud, what's going on right now, which is going on everywhere. This is just a symptom of all the larger issues that we're talking about here. This is happening everywhere. Everywhere. And if people can see this, and we can do our job, and we all have different ways and abilities and different megaphones that we can use to show people the way and say, hey, this is a different way. We don't have to be a part of this red versus blue scam. It's not the red versus blue, it's the state versus you. It's individualism versus collectivism. That's what we're fighting right now. And there's no better time for Bitcoin to shine than right now. And that's why we're talking about this. Gold and silver led us to this path where we find ourselves. If we had Bitcoin thousands of years ago, we wouldn't have needed any of this. And I'm going to talk about this again in a minute. My good friend Terrence Michael had a great post about silver, a short one. But before we go there, I want to finish some of my thoughts on this. So again, how do we know? How do we know that these scams are running in every municipality, every state, all the same shit's going on? Like, people think this is like some like isolated incident, like, oh my gosh, and again, this is a feature of the system. This is a feature of fiat, right, guys? I mean, like, who doesn't see this? There are no arrests. I mean, look, even Donald Trump, people get in and, oh, he's going to be great. He's going to pass all these things. He's going to get the voting laws in order. He's going to do this and that. Cutscene. What's happened? Nothing. Because it's a feature of the system. It's not a bug. We all act like these things are going to change. The humans, the citizens, the constituents in the country must demand change. Period. It doesn't work any other way. The king did not just give George Washington power because he said, hey, I want some power here, guys. We've mentioned this many times over time here, but you have to demand the power, and then you have to take action to get that power. The government works at the behest of the people. Again, the Declaration, which we've read before on this show, I don't have it in front of me, but I have this instead, Washington's Rules of Civility that he wrote, and he was, like 13? One of you guys might know better than me, but he's 12 or 11. But you demand, or in the Declaration they wrote, again, that the government works at the consent of the governed. Period. It's not the government scared of the people, or the people are scared of the government, which it is now. That's not how the founders envisioned it. That's not what made people free and why America became such a powerhouse over the next 150 years. It's because humans were free and they didn't have government all over the back trying to do and micromanage every single aspect of their life. We have gone way out of bounds here. And then you have people today, I have many people texting me and DMing me and stuff like that. Not texting per se, but DMing, getting on my phone, right? And you're reading them. They're like, well, the government won't let us do that. Well, good luck dealing with all the stuff that's going on, right? All these huge accounts, people everywhere on Twitter. If you've been on Twitter at all, talking about the Minnesota tax fraud and what's going on. And you're sitting there like, wow, like this is exactly the reason we have so many problems. We have these problems because of this laissez-faire, apathetic, indifferent, scared mindset of, well, the government can't do it. We are the government. Hello? McFly, we are the government. That's us. And if you don't believe that's the case, then we have different problems. We're gonna have to do something about that. If you believe you don't have a voice at all, then what are we doing here? What's the point? And so people just whistle by the graveyard, don't do anything, and 99% of people want the same thing. You might differ in how you think those little things should play out here and there, but overall, everyone wants freedom. Everyone doesn't want micromanaging in their life. Call it 90% of human beings. But again, like the 50-50 polls and the 50-50 elections that happen, that is complete nonsense. Most humans, if we were actually told the real news and what was actually going on and people were doing our actual homework, I would stand to guess it would be 90 to 95% of the country, just in America, I'm talking about America, would vote the same way. If you went from first principle thinking, from a freedom mindset, from zooming out, from the Constitution, from the Bitcoin white paper, these first principle thinking, 90+% of people would vote the same way. But it's only because we're told that our neighbor is the problem and the people around us are the problem. And these people coming over here, immigrants coming over here that are these are setups. So many of these things are either scams straight up to launder money to support again the scam system, the scam political stuff, or to make people mad and distracted from what's actually happening, which is in the Treasury, which is in the Federal Reserve, which is the melting down of the coins, proverbially, and the clipping of the coins, and printing the currency. The fractional reserve system, the banking system, what's actually happening of they don't have any money in the system, and then they're coming in, getting a loan, and new money springs into existence. That is literally fraud. But yet, we don't get to do that. The governments, the corporations get to do that. So what are we doing at the end of the day? We're the ones that allowed that. We are the ones that have allowed that. And again, these are all humans in organizations that we allow to do these things, and no one's held accountable ever. So of course, that just builds on itself over time and gets worse and worse and worse. So we don't know, or we don't have to know the exact, just by using first principles, you don't have to know the exact thing that's going on. And again, these things are not taught in school. First principle thinking, natural law, laws of thermodynamics, these things are not taught in school purposely because, again, other shows we talked about, the Rockefellers of the world, the robber barons, who wanted doers, not thinkers. They didn't want competition. They did not want entrepreneurs, more entrepreneurs fighting them. They wanted people to work for them. So we started teaching kids to memorize. You know, hey, the bell rings. Now I can go here. Now I can go there whenever I'm told. So the incentives of the system are such, because fiat's backed by nothing, if you cannot audit what's happening, and there's no transparency ever, where's the money to Ukraine going? Where's the money to the Middle East gone? Does anyone have any idea? Where's the money in your state going? Where's the money in your city going? You have no idea. I guarantee you there's not one person here, there's not one person in a million, maybe 10 million, that actually knows where the money is going in America, in their state, in their city. Nothing. There's nothing. You can't find it. Because the system is built on fraud. It's built on lack of transparency. Again, we've talked about Jonathan Gruber, the architect of Obamacare, 15 years ago. He came out and admitted multiple times in public. These people don't have shame. He said, the lack of transparency is a great political tool. Because we don't have hard money backing up anything, we can just tax the people endlessly, or print the currency, the silent tax, inflation, and we can pay for anything we want, and the people subsidize it. The constituents subsidize it, and they don't even know it. It's great. We don't have to ask them to go to war. We don't have to ask them to pass the Affordable Care Act. We don't have to ask them to pass this entitlement program. We don't have to ask them about the budget ceiling, or the debt ceiling. It doesn't matter, because we'll just print it. They'll pay through inflation. So it doesn't matter. There's nothing tethered to reality. So I therefore know, is a long roundabout way of saying, so I appreciate you staying with me, is a long roundabout way of saying, if you cannot audit it, if there's no transparency, which Bitcoin is just an auditing system, right? Bitcoin, every 10 minutes, it is an auditing system. It's a ledger that cannot be changed, backed by energy, 20 nuclear reactors currently of energy that no one can change, auditing what's happening globally in the system every 10 minutes. That's it. So all the scams, all the things that people want, and they want the transparency, they don't want the scams, where's my tax money going, what the hell is happening? That's cleared up by Bitcoin, the network. And so people get lost in the sauce. They get lost. They don't keep the main thing, as we talk about here. They look at number go up, and this person's going to get rich if I use this really fair system over here. And they cannot see. The scales keep them from seeing the truth. So if I cannot audit what's going on, I can therefore assume there is massive fraud. There's massive cheating going on. Whatever it is in life. I've told this story many times. I used to play Monopoly as a kid. I loved Monopoly. But I used to cheat all the time against my sister. I was 7 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old. There was nothing to play for. There's zero to play for. And you're telling me the most powerful positions in the world with the most to lose, the most money at stake, they're not cheating? These people aren't all cheating? Every angle, every side of the aisle? Of course they are. That's how the system works. The lack of transparency. No auditing. We don't know where the Pentagon just missed another one. Was that the 10th one in a row? Again, you guys will know. Put in the chat how many Pentagon audits we missed. 10 years in a row, I think. This is the clown that we find ourselves in. But inflation makes your life more expensive, right? So you have this world where you cannot audit. There's no transparency. We know people like power. And people in positions of power can do whatever they want with few ramifications, then what can you expect when you have no auditing? Bitcoin is the only global transparent auditing system that cannot be effed with in human history. That alone is worth everything. It's priceless. When inflation makes everything in your life more expensive, you are incentivized to cheat to live. It's a scam system, and the best scammer wins. Like I just talked about the Monopoly game. When you're the banker, and you're just taking more money every single time. Every time you pass go, you give yourself 400 instead of 200. Well, guess what? Eventually, you win because you have all the cash, and the other players in the game, they get screwed. So again, this is another thing too. Is that the people, most humans are good, and your goodness is weaponized against you. Most people believe that the people in power are out for their best interests. I have talked to so many people over the last 15, 20 years that have said, Brandon, I can't believe that there'd be that many people that are that evil, doing that amount of evil things. There's no way. What you're saying makes sense, but there's no way there's that many people out there clipping the coins, melting them down, screwing us over, taking our tax money, doing whatever it might be. Well, believe it, because that's the story of life. That's the story, again, if anyone's read the Bible, that's the story of the Bible. People screwing each other over all the time, 24/7. It's incredible. Yeah, these coins are a bit pingy. That's what they're supposed to sound, though. That's how you assay them, right, guys? That's how if I go into a store and I buy something with my gold or my silver, that really high pitched, it's supposed to sound really high pitched. So they say this is a good one. So you gotta believe me. You gotta trust me, bro. This is more like it. One of our sponsors, right? Stamp Seed. Here's the titanium. This is what you really want. You generate your Bitcoin, get the seed on here, put your seed phrase on steel. You put it on that. That's the real metal. Because now you've got that saved forever. That can go with you anywhere globally. And it's audited 24/7, 365. Pretty amazing idea. Where you can't audit this. We have no idea how much is in the ETFs. We have no idea how much is out there. It sounds good, though. And it looks good. Using your teeth, Tomahawk cruise missiles, mirrors, electronics, all that stuff, right? So that's pretty cool. You know, if you want to blow people up constantly. Like I just saw the CIA did some more drone strikes, or just did their first drone strikes in Venezuela in this past month, right? So Trump admitted that yesterday. So that's good. I didn't know the CIA was at war with people. So that's pretty sweet. We're starting new wars. So, you know, it's great times, guys. So again, people believe that the people in power are there for their best interest. And we just outlined why we can assume that the system's not designed for you and not set up for you because it's fake, because it's backed by nothing with no transparency. So the people, if you go to a system, if there's a system, this is why the founding fathers designed the country to have such limited power, because it de-incentivized or disincentivized people that were bad to go seek that power. Why would I go if there's not much power to be had? I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to go figure something else out. But if we now have a scam system that's been built on itself for 112 years, we'll just call it since the Federal Reserve, where you can scam the living daylights out of all society and become the most wealthy, most powerful people in the world to control other human beings, which is the top level of all power and control, I can therefore assume it's going to attract the worst of the worst in the world. This is, again, just first principle thinking. This is just thinking through with first principles. So, it's incredible. It is really incredible. So, gold and silver failing led us here to dollars and credit, which led us to these abuses. No finality in the system. So the Bitcoin trade is the settlement. The Bitcoin trade is the settlement. If I give you this gold and silver coin, these silver coins, right? If you give me an apple and I give you 1 ounce of silver, then that's the trade. It's final settlement. We know. Boom, it's done. You have it, right? We talked GG's Bitcoin is time lays this out beautifully. If you have two types of money: physical tangible money, physical tangible tokens, or a ledger. So in that world, if you give me the apple and I give you the silver, that's it. The trade is done. Everyone knows who has what, right? But how do we know this globally? That's the thing that Bitcoin solves for. We don't know that globally what's actually happening because we don't have a way to track that immutably with no one being able to mess with it or change it. So how do we get around this thing, right? So if you have two apples, and one of the quotes he has in there is great. If we have two coins, two physical, tangible coins, he used apples. But if we have two coins and you have one and I have one, and we switch them, what do we have in the physical world? We both have one coin still, or 1 ounce of silver, or one apple. That's what happens in the physical world, right? But in the digital world, if we both have an idea and we swap ideas, now you have two ideas and I have two ideas. So how do you configure for that? That's the same thing, just ones and zeros, data and internet. So that's the problem, the Byzantine generals problem, this problem that's been trying to solve this double spend problem in Bitcoin for eons, right? And that's what Satoshi discovered, how to attach digital scarcity to the physical realm through energy, through physical energy. That's the innovation. That's the killer app right there. So how do you get this world where you can, normally, if I send you a picture over the internet, we now both have two pictures, or we both have the two ideas. So how do you have it where if I give you that picture, or if I give you my idea, or if I give you my Bitcoin, how do we know that you have it and I don't have it anymore? That's what Bitcoin solves for. That's what Bitcoin solves for. So I got a couple good things I want to share here really quick, and I'm going to answer some of these really quick, or just if bling is a ping, it ain't worth a thing. Oh man, I love that. Yes, Happy New Year's. Yeah, it's good to see everybody. Gold and silver can be diluted, 24 karat. Yeah, and you have to be able to say it, right? You have to be able to say it and actually figure out what in the world is actually happening. So, Trini, what is good? What is good? Sparkly Horns, good to see you. Glad to catch you live. Yes, I'm glad you did. Gotta catch the mass spectrometers out. Get your mass spectrometers out, boys. Exactly. You have to. You got to be able to say this stuff. Got to validate that coinage. What is Chris? What's up? I don't think I saw you yet. What is good? If you put your seed phrase on metal, isn't it easier for the government to find, though, because of metal detectors? Yeah, and again, I like your adversarial thinking. Everyone has to, if you had $1 million or $1 million or $1 billion in silver, it's going to be hard to find, or it's going to be easy to find, right? Because it's a lot. It's bulky. There's a lot going around. A little bit easier if it's gold, but Bitcoin, you could have $1 trillion on a seed plate. Stamp seed has their 12 word and a 24 word. Boom, done. You could have $1 trillion right here with your key. Now you have to keep these safe, right? You got to keep these safe. So that's part of the game. So you're going to have to keep something safe regardless. You either have to trust Chase Bank in the fiat digital credit system. You either have to trust yourself. And the problem is, if you put it in vaults, again, there is middleman trust issues going on. I know that they generally are going to be pretty safe, but bank deposit, safety deposit box, and if you call your insurance company and say, hey, I need to insure a bunch of gold and silver in my house, well, guess what? Now the operator on the phone knows you have a bunch of gold and silver, all these things. So you go down these effects of, okay, how am I doing this? Where am I doing it? What is it going to cost me? But here, you can, what I would suggest is trying to remember your seed phrases, but relying on these though. Right? Having your seed phrase in your head, it really is probably a good secondary, backup. It's not the primary backup. You don't want to just, what happens if you lose your memory, right? What happens if you're playing beer league hockey and you get hit in the head and you can't remember your seed phrase? This is why you want your seed not on paper. You want it on titanium or steel. You want it on something that's going to last. Nuclear fallout, fire, whatever it might be. So to your point, yes, if we're in a situation where people are coming and government's metal detecting for this stuff, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, Chris. I mean, we've really lost at that point. If that's now, if it's a one-off thing, I mean, like we have Keone and Samurai guys, which we've been talking about a lot for a while now, the Ross Ulbricht stuff. If the government's coming after you, then yeah. I mean, maybe you have it memorized in your head, and then you give this to a family member, or you throw it in the ocean, or something like that, and you restart or whatever it is, or. Again, a lot of people comply with the government, but I think that's changing, and there's something to be said, because we have to remember the government is all of us. The government. What happens was when you have a collection of people far removed from what's going on, and big collections of people, they tend to do dumb things. But each of those people individually is still human, right? You have to be empathetic to them. Most of them are doing what they think is best, and that's where all of us have to come to our senses. The way we educate, the way we talk. The way we talk to government, the collection of the humans, beautiful, God-created humans, that you believe you are going a certain way to help all of us, but you're taking our individual freedoms and rights, and you are an individual freedom, and you have family members who are individuals as well. So you have to be very careful. This bifurcated system we kind of find ourselves in, this aristocracy, kleptocracy we kind of find ourselves in, it can be challenging, but this is a world that you can see the tax revolt springing up and all these things happening. this is a very real time. I mean, again, we had the American Revolution, the French Revolution, and this is the world that's going to continue unfolding, that people they get fed up and you outlast your government. The government will change because guess what? Bitcoiners that have their seeds written down, they get wealthier over time. And then all of a sudden, some of those Bitcoiners start taking positions of power. And government starts to subside over time. And they lose the power collectively as a government. But the individuals in the government that used to be in the government, or all of us that aren't in the government, we gain power as well. We gain freedoms and we gain individual liberties. These are just, I mean, a lot of what we're doing is just basic civics, economics lessons, historical lessons that humans, or I should say Americans, are starting to learn again. Because for so long we have not learned our basic history. We've read on here the Common Sense, the first paragraph of Common Sense, the book. We've read on here on the live streams before the Declaration, some of the Declaration, some of my favorite parts. These are why America was great. These are what gave us the opportunities to create and invent and do these and innovate. We're getting back to that because we've lost that for a long time. So again, these things are not super complicated to figure out. It's just we've forgotten them. And now it's a learning process of all of us going through these baby steps over and over again and just kind of coming back to them. So let me see here. Procrastinator, no, it should be the opposite. The top 2% gold or silver, they were top 99% gold or silver coins together. It's a dull thud. That's not how I've learned over time. But hey, again, that's gold and silver for you. So it's yeah, that's why that's why we Bitcoin, right? That's a great. Hey, I'm not going to argue the procrastinator. I've gold and silver for a number of years, a long time ago. That's how I was taught. But hey, could be taught by a bunch of cheaters. So you never know. I memorized mine. Drew said. Love that. It's just a great example of why we Bitcoin. And like we said, the exact reason, the auditing system. Bitcoin is an auditing mechanism. That's the beautiful part. It's amazing. It's literally every 10 minutes audited, guys. I memorized mine. Yeah, I mean, again, it's part of a nuanced strategy. There's multi-sig. There's different ways to go about handling your seed phrase, right? Happy New Year. Brandon, Ottawa Stacker. Let's go. The Canadian capital. Good to see you, Chris. Good to see you. Just passed by Ottawa 2 months ago. We had them in Montreal. You know, we were at the Canadian Bitcoin conference speaking there. So love those areas. Amazing areas. The Senators have really given our Red Wings a hard time over the last few years, though. You got some good boys. You got some good Americans on your team. Kachuk and a bunch of guys. Stutzel, Germans. You guys got a lot of good young talent. Yeah, I memorized mine too with memory pegging. Amazing. The government is looking for people's seeds with metal detectors. It's 1984. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, Drew. I mean, again, go support the Keone, by the way. I'll put the link up here again for privacy. You know, it's weird. My dad had said recently, like, you know, you read about these times in history books, but it's weird. It's weird that we have to live through them. You know, we're living through these times to pick up all the pieces, and this is what happens. You know, like for a long time, we got to ride the coattails of success, and we dropped the ball. You know, all of us. It's on all of us, and it's going to be on us, the few percent, to pull society back towards freedom and first principles and just common sense thinking. Very common sense. People, you know, again, that's the one thing is school, compulsory school for 100 years has taught us that the answer has to be complicated. There's only one right answer, and the answers are simple, and there's more than one answer. And so that's, again, these things we're having to break societal patterns, break thinking. The Titanic is going down. The U.S. dollar, it's not going to last forever. No government currency has ever lasted forever. They all gone to zero, every single one. And the dollar's already lost 99% over the last 112 years. Do we think that's going to change? Is that going the other direction all of a sudden? So, I mean, these things are inevitable. Could it take another year, 10 years, 50 years? Yeah, sure, it could. But the more, you know, social media, the more education that's out there of showing people how they're getting robbed and how the government, the collective group of people, is robbing them and stealing from them at the top, doing Minnesota tax fraud scandals, systems based on this. This is why, again, you know, like it or not, this is why people want to go back to gold and silver. The governments, I should say. This is why the East is going to gold and silver because they have an ability to revalue and also accrue a lot of wealth and have a system of somewhat trust for a while. But the best part about gold and silver is that as a government, eventually you will then start defrauding everyone once again. That's the beautiful part because there's no way for anyone to be able to trust you long term. So you get to go start defrauding everyone again long term, whether that's a month from now or a year or 10 or 100 years from now. At some point, you get to start defrauding the population because no one can actually audit the gold and silver long term. That's the beautiful part. So, or for governments, right? So that's the beautiful part for governments is they get to defraud the system long term. That's why I said the Minnesota thing that's got everyone up in arms. This is predictable. As a Bitcoiner, this is very predictable, and it's not shocking. The tax fraud and all these different things. This is happening in every city and every state across the country, at some level. So the fiat system incentivizes people to do dumb things, to cheat to get ahead. Unfortunately, that is a system we live in. You choose good or evil right away. You chose sound money, you get all the good ramifications downstream from that. You choose evil money, you choose a dishonest tree. Now, how are you going to have good fruit from that? You can't. When you choose dishonest money, you cannot have honest society. If you choose a bad tree, you're not going to get good fruit. It's physically impossible. So people, we discount we discount the incentivization. We discount how simple it truly is. So it will be 1984, truly, Drew, if that's the case. So Krasner said, no, you split a seed across 2 vaults and have a complete seed on titanium. You can always access if shit hits a fan and you need to seed a new device. Yeah, beautiful. And again, there's obviously BTC Sessions, Ben's a great guy, has tons of great content for this. I know there's others out there too. Ian Major has talked about this, his YouTube channel. There's a bunch of good YouTube channels that talk about the actual ins and outs. So if you want how-to videos on some of the stuff, obviously go check that out. That's why study Bitcoin. Telling someone to buy Bitcoin is not the thing to do. Study Bitcoin, because then you learn all the things we're talking about. You're learning the context shifting. Because again, at the end of the day, I've told you guys before, I'm a context shifter. I'm not the how-to guy. That's not my job. My job is to help context shift. There's a lot of us out here. I'm guessing some of you too. We're context shifters. So it's how do we shift people around us, their thinking. And then, because I know for me, as soon as my context was shifted on some of these things 15 years ago, then 10 years ago, Bitcoin, whatever, then I go do the work, right? If I can shift context for people, then they go down the rabbit hole and then they go put the work in to figure out what's going on in the ins and outs in the how-to. So it's waking up the masses from the stupor and context shifting. That's my personality. So that's the way I've always been. So these are great points. And go, like I said, go check out BTC Sessions, Ian Major's channel. And again, there's a bunch of other ones too. Fortunately, there's more and more people starting to do tutorials and doing stuff like this. So Stack the Dip said, thoughts on the cold card queue. So I don't have the cold card queue. We have, like Foundation is someone I partnered with before. I liked Foundation just because I like open source stuff. So the cold card, obviously good. Foundation, good. Blockstream, the Jade has had some, interesting stuff going on lately. So I can't sit here and, say one way or another necessarily, but I guess more of the story is, again, zoom out, macro, open source, privacy centric, freedom first. The fountain or the foundation passport is built in the U.S. if that matters to you. So like again, that's what like the ledger. Some of these other ones, garbage. Like if it's not open source, if we can't see the code and see what's going on, get out of here. Our channel, like I've told you guys before, the sponsors that we have that you see in the description below, stuff like that, they're all people I went after myself because it's people that I used or they had the ethos. I believe that's paramount. They're people that I wanted to be partnered with because I wanted to put their content, or not their content, I wanted to put their products and services out there, and they had the ethos. And so that to me is more important than anything. It's not, this isn't going to get number to go up. That's not what it's about. It's about how can we get the most amount of people, the most amount of freedom, because that's the only way actually building the new society, the Bitcoin circular economy. It's the only way it changes. Again, like we said earlier, we need to demand that the government changes. You do that by actually demanding it, and then also building a circular economy, building and educating and growing and innovating and doing things in that system. It's the only way. And then other people start to come, they see that, you live by example, and then other people start seeing that and they start coming to you. That's how life works. So, Drew, best wallet in my opinion. You're saying best wallet in my opinion is Cold Card Q. I'm guessing that's what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, again, to me, I know everyone has their intricacies. To me, those three open source wallets that I mentioned, again, the Cold Card Q, the Foundation Passport Core, or the Passport Prime, and then the Blockstream Jade. Do your own homework, set up your own node, this is a big thing. Make sure they're open source, make sure they have the right ethos, and then, trust but verify, or, don't verify, don't trust me, verify for yourself, but run your own node. The other part is run your own node. And that way, when you're using the wallet, you can then hook up to your node and make sure that what you're seeing is correct and you're not trusting someone else's node. And the other thing is, use, and you guys can put stuff in here that what you like. I like Sparrow, like using Sparrow. So using one of those wallets hooked up with Sparrow wallet, that's huge. So do that. So that way you're creating this separation, and you are not necessarily using the, like, Foundation has Envoy, the wallet the online wallet that comes with the Foundation's products, and then you have Blockstream has I think is it Green wallet, Blockstream Green, that's their online solution paired with the wallet. So anyway, what I would suggest though, again, is just using separate entities. I would, that way you're just creating a more anti-fragile system. So using Sparrow and then using that with your wallet of choice. So anyway, again, all great open source products, but because again, that's the name of the game. That's what this is all about. Not trusting, but it's verifying what I'm saying, verifying what the wallet is doing, verifying what Sparrow is doing. And there's a lot of great solutions out there, and there's more coming every day. Yeah, yeah, it's great. It's so good, Chris. I mean, the ping test, it's just, yeah. It's great. Really quick though, I wanted to share. So this is Terrence, one of my good buddies. Terrence shared this, and this is why silver is super powerful and is necessary for so many things: mirrors, telescopes, hospital equipment, wound dressings. Again, we mentioned Tomahawk cruise missiles earlier. Water purifiers, creams, car electronics, batteries, TV, smartphones, computers, solar panels. So when the world saves in silver, it raises the price of these necessities. So either these necessities don't get made because it's too expensive, or when the world saves in Bitcoin, or sorry, that's the next part. But when the world saves in silver, it raises the price of those things. So either those things aren't made, or they become so much that the average person can't get these necessities. However, when the world saves in Bitcoin, it raises the prices of zero necessities because it was designed to do nothing but save. That's a novel idea. And thus keeping the cost of necessities down. And the irony is, when you save in Bitcoin, your necessities get even cheaper. It's a beautiful world. So I thought it was so funny, just because it's so simple, but yet, like we talked about earlier, school has brainwashed us so much that we can't even see what's right in front of us. There's such little critical thinking that we can't even see what's right there. So, people, again, we need utility. There's got to have utility in here. The utility is being money. I don't want my money to be in someone's mouth. I don't want my money to hang around someone else's neck. That's not what I want. The commodity itself should do what it's supposed to do, which is, again, be in electronics, be in mirrors, glass, whatever's going on, electronics. It should be in that thing. It shouldn't be money and that thing. So you have money being money, Bitcoin, and then it has ancillary benefits of, it's cleaning up the environment. Bitcoin mining, again, maybe newsflash, breaking news to some people here, potentially. I'm sure not most, because we have a pretty dang educated crowd here. This is... We eject people that we want people learning here, but we eject people that say ridiculous things or are just being ridiculous, as we full well know. But we want money being a container for our time and energy. And then, again, breaking news to some, that Bitcoin mining actually cleans up the environment. It actually does something wonderful for the environment. It actually uses that excess energy or uses flared gas or methane gas or whatever it might be to turn it into the hardest money in the world and secure the network. So again, I can't get enough handling these things. It's great. I mean, these are great. Silver is just great to handle. It's great to touch, but if it is silver, like Cranston was saying earlier, so it's we don't want it raising the cost of our necessities. Why would I use silver when it makes everything more expensive actually in my life? So the only people that benefit are the people just holding and sitting on silver and hoping that everything gets more expensive for everyone else in life. That's wild. That's absolutely wild. But if you hold Bitcoin though, everything gets cheaper in your life. And it raises the cost of nothing else in life. Wild. 1666. Say the Q Act of 1666. A human is a monster. A person does not exist. It's a fiction. If you are a straw man from Wizard of Oz, follow the yellow brick road or maybe the orange. I can't say I'm smart enough to understand that. But the Wizard of Oz is, or the orange brick road. So yeah, I'm guessing you're referring to that, the Wizard of Oz, which I didn't know. I didn't know for a long time. I graduated in 1984. Crow. I'm familiar with that number. Yeah, but I didn't know Wizard of Oz was actually based off of like the banking system and stuff like that. Did not know that until 5 years ago. Again, another thing Bitcoin taught me. Pretty amazing. Use a passphrase along, this is Stack the Dip said, use a passphrase along with your seed plate, and remember your passphrase is in your head only, and use the seed only as a decoy wallet. Yeah, that's a good one too. That's the cool thing about Bitcoin is there are so many ways to go about your custody setup. That's what's really cool as well. It's limitless what you can do. So I think that's one of the advantages. Again, like we talked about earlier with physical metals, it's tough. You have these things with this, again, Stack just talked about another version of what you can do. But for this, again, it's tough because if you're paying more insurance, again, there's always someone that's going to know. Or you've got to physically move a bunch of these things, right? But again, if you're going through a metal detector or you're going country to country, maybe someone's not going to be looking for this, but you could store it in your head, right? If you're going country to country or whatever it might be. But this, you can't. Unfortunately, you cannot store this in your head. So you're always going to be stopped somewhere, some way. And again, this is bigger and heavier. Gold as well. It's still obviously physical. So you're going to have a hard time with that, where the seed phrase is much different. So I love the different ways that you can go about custodying because it's to each their own. Again, going back to, I forgot who said it earlier, but going back to, I don't know where it is, but going back to the best way to handle everything, it's to each their own. There's a million ways you could set it up, and that's the beauty of it, what your situation is. And again, we hope we outlast the government, so a lot of these things don't happen. So the government's not over here PD Hoovering with their metal detectors to try to get your seed phrase and try to find your seed phrase. So that hopefully in the coming years here, the next few years, we shouldn't have to do that because, like we said earlier, I kind of started going down that road. If Bitcoiners are getting wealthier and wealthier, which first principle thinking, they should be over time as government continues to print more currency, governments continue to print, the treasuries, central banks, et cetera, then you're going to have a world where they get wealthier and they come to positions of power and then they recede because they're wealthier and because they have disdain for collectivism and collective power. That power recedes by government over time, and it then the pendulum swings in the favor of freedom and sovereignty in individuals. So you don't have to worry about a lot of those things. However, again, this is why it's so paramount to be active, to vote with your wallet, vote with your feet, vote with your mouth, do these things in order to not have to see a lot of collateral damage, to not have to see a lot of hard times, or hopefully not as many hard times, because this could get really bad. I think that's something we have to admit to ourselves, right? This could get really bad very quickly, very fast over the next few years, next handful of years, if we're not careful. And that's kind of at the precipice we're sitting at. That's why, we talk in memes, we talk in these soliloquies, but it's very true. We could see a very hard time. We're at the road right now, obviously, the 2030, own nothing and be happy. We're 4 years away from that. So you have a world where you choose CBDCs and slavery, or you choose Bitcoin and freedom. We're at that crossroad. AI and CBDCs and slavery, or Bitcoin and freedom. There is no in between. And that's the world that, again, with the Minnesota tax fraud that's going on right now, the thing that's catching everyone by surprise, except all of us here, well, it's a wake-up call. And it's time for us to get loud about, hey, there's actually answers to this. We actually have the answer to the test. So, but again, as Michael Saylor says, Bitcoin's a need-to-know basis. And when people are hurting enough, which, I don't know, there are a lot of people that are mad, they're staging tax revolts, which, again, hey, more power to you. But until people are really hurting, I don't know. Humans, that's great and all to like talk on Twitter. You see a lot of tough talk on Twitter, but until people are really hurting, which 50-year mortgages and 15-year auto loans, that's not exactly hurting. That's just kicking the can down the road more. So I don't know. Will people actually do anything? Will they actually stand up for their own freedoms? Will they actually stand? Yet to be seen. Crow said there are no coins. There and no way you can own any Bitcoin, period. It's fiction. LOL, tax on fiction. I guess I don't know. I'm not sure what you're saying. There are no coins. There is no way you can own any Bitcoin, period. It's fiction. LOL, tax on fiction, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure what you're saying. You're saying Bitcoin is fiction, I'm guessing? It is ephemeral. So, yeah. I mean, money is a shared illusion at the end of the day. We've shared this. The poem with in here before too, right? If you think you can, you will. If you think you can't, you won't. Life's battles don't always go to the bigger, stronger man, but sooner or later they go to the one who thinks he can. So we live in a world where, again, people tell me, well, I can't do that here. I can't do that type of investing here. I can't own Bitcoin. I can't do this. I can't do that. Well, government won't let me. Well, that's because that's the story you tell yourself. I can do that. I am doing that. I can do those things here. I am doing those things here. You can't, because that's what's in here. That's what's in your head. What's available to me is available to everyone. What's available to you is available to everybody. It's, do I believe that I can? Do I think I can? And the more, I will say, after 20 years of studying money, politics, 20, 25 years, and then 10 years, 15 years of studying gold and silver, financial history, and then 10 years of studying Bitcoin, the more you go down this road, it's less about, again, this stuff. It's less about seed phrases and mining equipment and whatever and digging stuff out of the ground. And the more it is about what's between the 6 inches between your ears. It is literally mindset. It's like human psychology and mindset. It is amazing. People are hopelessly inured in the system. And that's all mindset. They are trapped in the system. They can't get themselves out. They fight to keep it. Fight to keep the system that they're in, because change is tough. Change is hard. Change, it sucks. So, that's a good one. That's a good question, Chris. Where in your body is the most secret place to tattoo your seed phrase? Sovereignty, I think, is interesting. Or sovereign living. Yeah. Absolutely is. It's the only way to go. We're definitely pendulum swinging back, that's for sure. Devices vault stored should also have a pin code coded that only your family would understand. If any reason the vault gets hit, your device shouldn't be compromised and leave trails via a will. Yeah. I love it. We're going to have to do a whole episode just like that. We're going to have to do a whole thing. Cranscanator. We'll have to have you come on in the first quarter or something like that. Do a whole show about just that in general, just different privacy solutions. BTC Moon Guy, what's good? Good morning, Bitcoiners. GFY Bears. Yeah, get out of here, Bears. We got no time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. You can do a simple drop test on concrete, gold, or silver. I'm not dropping it on gold. Oh, get out of here. But I believe you. I'm not, oh man. But again, I love it. I love that you keep saying that, or different stuff, because it just shows the absurdity of gold and silver. Again, gold and silver is great for like giving it to your nephew or your niece or your grandparents or something like that. You're getting it from them or whatever, but this isn't a global solution. The fact that we keep coming back to that, we still have people, smart people everywhere. The Peter Schiffs of the world, all these people, which again, follow the money. I know he's got gold funds. I know he's incentivized to say this, and he's ticked that he didn't buy more Bitcoin 15 years ago. I get it. But the fact that people ruin their reputations and they don't do the homework, again, like a Jim Rickards. I love Jim Rickards. Could he be a spook? Work for the government. He did the financial war games in 2000 or whatever with the government. Maybe, sure. But, he just flippantly, well, I read the white paper in 2009. I got it. I already know it's not going to work. Government will never let it. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, that's because your mind shut off already. Bitcoin, the blockchain's already been around since the 80s. Yeah, blockchain is not the invention here. That's not the killer app. That's not the discovery. All blockchain is just attaching transactions and attaching data to other data. That's all blockchain is. All the other, the difficulty adjustment, the hash function, putting all these things together, all these things, the SHA-256, the tying digital scarcity to physical energy, all of these things, the cryptographic functions with the private key and the public key, these are the things all together that create Bitcoin, that make it the killer app. It's not just blockchain. Blockchain on its own is nothing. And that's where, like, someone like him, like, I still respect him, but at the same time, when you talk like that, then my respect starts to dwindle, and I have to start questioning other things because you haven't done your homework. You're just flippantly trying to brush people off and say, yeah, they don't know what they're talking about. I'll tell you what it's going to be. Well, then I know you haven't done your homework, and now I'm starting to question everything you're doing. But again, that's Bitcoin. That's what Bitcoin teaches you. That's why it's frustrating when you say go study Bitcoin. People are like, oh, you're just number go up, crypto bros. It's like, no, that's crypto. That's crypto, guys. Crypto is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not crypto. Study Bitcoin. Bitcoin makes you smarter in 100 different areas of your life that you've never even thought of before. And that's the difference. It's philosophical, psychological, game theory, first principles, thermodynamics. These are things that you didn't think about before. You didn't have to think about. Anyway, love Bitcoin first and foremost, but no avoiding silver squeeze. Place your bets accordingly. Yeah, and it's not, and again, like I said, it's not to say that silver can't do well, right? The nominal price. It's funny you say that because I was thinking of the GameStop silver squeeze, 4 years ago, and there's been no talk about that. Like, how come there's been no talk? Like, all of a sudden at $30 per ounce, there was a ton of talk about the silver squeeze, but now I don't hear much of it. At least like in the mainstream, I guess, social media and things of that nature. So maybe it's just, obviously price has been ripping nominally, so it's just blowing through all the shorts and there are no shorts left. So maybe that's why. But it's funny you say that. It's very funny. And again, nominally, I do think gold and silver are going to do well. I think they're going to do well in the coming years because they have to, because they are obviously very scarce compared to government currencies. And then the goods that they are in, gold, silver are in, of course, you are going to have this world where there's a supply that's limited and are only mining 1 or 2% a year, and it's this limited supply, and you're going to have people going, the older crowd, central banks, they want some of those metals, and they already have a lot of metals in the East, and so you're going to have this world where there's definitely going to be a place where they nominally keep going up. Absolutely. Bitcoin is the hardest money. This is a hard asset, but Bitcoin is the hardest money because it's completely finite, equal to your finite time and energy. And that's why the Bitcoin is Time article by Gigi is so incredibly impactful and so important, because Bitcoin is time and time is Bitcoin. You have a finite time here on Earth and you have finite Bitcoin, the only perfect trade for your time. This is great. Again, if you want goods, this is why I shared this article or this post by Terrence. Silver is powerful. It's necessary for all these things: mirrors, telescopes, electronics, missiles, smartphones, whatever. But when the world saves in silver, it raises the price of those necessities. So it will go up for sure. I agree with you. But it makes life more expensive for everyone. Or the product just isn't made. And then that's even worse. Now your standard of living comes down. Either way, it's coming down. So that's not good long term. That's why silver doesn't make good money. And gold doesn't make good money. And platinum doesn't make good money. They are great in these other things, though. And we need them. Clearly. But it's this fight over money that is really, really traps people, unfortunately. The best we've had, though. It's the best we have for thousands of years. Facts changed, life changes, and that's what happens. It's, we had horses, now we have cars. And it's okay. Like we had, things are weird until they're not. It's weird someone discovered fire, then it wasn't weird. Someone discovered the airplane and the car and the printing press, and then it wasn't weird. We've just grown up in times where all those things are normal. Our kids don't know any different. They grow up in a world of Bitcoin, of hard money. They don't know any different. It'd be very abnormal for my children to grow up 20 years from now and look around and see someone using fiat currencies or gold and silver as money. They'd be sitting there staring at them cross-eyed. 11 years ago, I bought a few ounces of silver, 1 Bitcoin for my newly born nephew. Bitcoin up nearly 300x, silver up 4x. Yeah, Moon Guy. Silver's got a way to go to catch up. It'll definitely, I could see it going to $100 an ounce, eventually, for sure. It has to. Again, like a lot of these things, Bitcoin will account the most, obviously, for all the currency, and then gold and silver will be somewhere behind it, somewhere. But again, me personally, I want to put my energy into a network that I know can handle the globe in what we're trying to do. Global settlement that cannot be effed with. So it's not that gold and silver can't, it's not that these can't do well, but you cannot put the globe on this with final settlement and have a system that runs properly long term. Because 5,000 years of history have showed us that. That's what led to all the chaos we see today, is a credit debt-based system because of these things. They're beautiful. They're amazing. They're great in electronics. Leave them there. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. Exactly, Chris. That's it. It's the poem that hung in my room as a child. It was in the Detroit Red Wings locker room as a kid, and my coach shared it with us when I was growing up, and I had it in my room forever. I still have it somewhere, but it's an amazing poem. To take it back, gold and silver does indeed ping, apparently. My bad. No, hey, no worries, dude. I've seen a couple people do it that I respected, but that doesn't mean anything. So I'm going to look into it as well again a little bit. So I'll take what you just said, I'll note it, and I will also go verify a bit more in myself as well, because you've got me thinking, so I'm going to go research it a little bit. But I appreciate you saying that. This is why we love Bitcoiners, because we're honest. I love it. It's just amazing. What a world. Basically, not bad to have on the side. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, again, it's if the solar flare hits the Earth or asteroid hits and everything, the entire world gets knocked out, then yeah, it's great. And I say that half serious, half in jest, but it's something physical. I like primary things. I mean, I guess that's part of it too. Primary assets, right? It's better to me, in my mind, to own the forest rather than owning the paper company. It's better for me, in my mind, to own the farm and the cows than it is to own the grocery store. I want to own primary things. The energy, the Bitcoin, the money, have the seed phrase, have the gold and silver. Like, I don't care about the electronics. I don't need to own Radio Shack. I can own the silver, right? And it's just like, if you own the silver, then you win. If you own Bitcoin and the whole network's going up and people are building on Bitcoin, I win. You win. Sailor's doing, Employee of the Month. He's out there spreading the good word. Larry Fink is, whoever it is, BTC Sessions is, Hatboy is, Cranstonator is going out there talking to his family, right? I win because I'm on the Bitcoin network. We all win. That's the beauty of the positive sum Bitcoin finite network, is we get to have infinite value because it's a finite network. Pretty wild, but I agree. Not bad. It is not bad to have on the side. Bitcoin's always first, though, obviously. Exactly. It's the main thing. And that's it. Because none of us know. None of us know what's actually going to happen. I choose to put all my time and energy into Bitcoin and talk about it and educate on it because it's the only thing I've seen throughout 20, 25 years of being very political and then studying the money and then being in business and then raising money and having to go through all these things and sales and all. It's the only thing that cut across all of those landscapes and brought everything back into check. I've never seen anything like it before. And I know many of you here have gone through those same type of epiphanies and realizing, oh my goodness, this changes everything we thought about life. A lot of the misgivings or a lot of the problems you're having in your business or a lot of the PE ratios being out of whack or cap rates in real estate or whatever, infinite banking, right? We've talked about Meanwhile. I had Jason on here, one of our sponsors. Meanwhile, the first Bitcoin denominated life insurance company. You can actually do whole life infinite banking because they are Bitcoin denominated. You can't do that on fiat currencies, right? One of my buddies, I've told this story many times. One of my buddies, good friend, is a whole life infinite banker. And we argue all the time. And I'd say, why would I spend $500 a month or $1,000 or whatever it is a month for the next 3 years to fund my infinite banking policy, my whole life policy, and I'm making 3, 4, 5% return because of the bond market and fiat currency, why don't I just buy Bitcoin with that $500 a month or $1,000 a month, whatever it is, long term, and then I can lend against that over time. Or eventually, when fiat goes away and the dollar collapses, I'll just use Bitcoin. I'll just trade in Bitcoin, and I will have made much more value accrual to myself than I would if inflation's 10% a year, but the bond market in my infinite banking policy is only giving me 5% a year. I'm losing 5% a year. So that's where, like, meanwhile, flip that on its head. Meanwhile is, and we did a live stream the other day. I don't know, some of you guys saw it, or some of you guys were there, but they actually denominate all their financial statements in Bitcoin. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I haven't seen any company do that personally. So, yeah, no, there's definitely no avoiding that silver squeeze. For sure. No, there's definitely not. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens going forward. So I've never seen a company denominate their livelihood in Bitcoin. So it was very cool to see that all these things work now. Like I said, PE ratios, cap rates, infinite banking, whole life insurance, all this works now because you're doing it on sound money. You're doing it on an actual protocol that accrues wealth to you instead of pulls it away from you in society. 2002, or Hadboy said, 2026 election year, Bitcoin going to rip. The pain of 2025 will be worth it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of two things, right? I think we either crash down a bunch more, which, hey, great. I think that's the beauty of Bitcoin, or we just absolutely rip and take off. I tend to think, Hatboy, you're right, just because I find it odd. Like everything that Besant is saying of like, hey, you guys are going to be happy in 2026 and it being an election year, all those different things. I would be surprised if Bitcoin didn't rip this year. That I would just be very shocked. But that's me. And again, there ain't one person that knows what in the Sam hell is going on. So don't take anyone's word for it. I'd be very surprised. I'd also prepare for $40,000 Bitcoin. And if that's the case, great. We get to stack more sats. We get double the sats, triple the sats. Great. That's amazing. And what better way to lead into the next bull market of, wow, we just picked up double or triple the sats. This is truly incredible. And that's the beauty of Bitcoin. Again, Bitcoin, when we have this fiat Bitcoin paradox, we get to live in both worlds. When Bitcoin goes down in dollar price, we get to stack more sats. And then when it goes up, you get wealthier. You accrue more value, or you accrue more wealth. So you win either way. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. We know where it's going long term because it's a network built off of, secured by 20 nuclear reactors and a finite hard cap of 21 million Bitcoin. We know where it's going. That's why Max Kaiser for 10 years has said Bitcoin's mathematically designed to go up in value. Between the halvings and the printing of the currency, guaranteed to happen, all fiat government-run currencies all have gone to zero in all of human history. So we know those two things combined, it's guaranteed to go up. It's guaranteed to suck all other assets into it over time. Yeah, what direction though? Yeah, exactly. Oh man. So yes, okay. So Cranston, you're in on 2026 too. Okay, so you think it's going up as well this year? Yeah, I'm curious what everyone else's thoughts are. Again, I'd be shocked if it went down. Like I'd be shocked if it went to 40, but I'm not surprised if that makes sense, right? My guess would be it'll go up. We'll break all-time highs. At some point, Bitcoin breaks your models. It's always doing what we don't think it's going to do. It's going to be higher. It's going to be 150. It's going to be 200. It's going to be 500 at some point. It's going to be 1 million. There is no bottom to fiat, theoretically, right? Other than zero. And the inverse of zero is infinity. So Bitcoin will continue to do this over time. It's going to continue to beat the living hell out of all of us, make us all look like fools, make us all look like idiots. But the main thing is the main thing. Keep that in focus. That's all it is. So keep the main thing the main thing. That's all we need to do. So there was another thing I was going to share, but I'll share it maybe the next day or so. We're going to have a pod come out tomorrow with Cameron McGregor. Like I said, you guys don't want to miss that. It is awesome. And it's really he's one of the best speakers I've probably had on the podcast, to be totally honest. Like an actual speaker and thinker can think like a mile a minute. So it's an hour and 55 minutes, and you might have to like slow it down to like 0.75 because he probably packed 3 or 4 hours of information in it. But we go through everything. I mean, the macro, multipolar world, China, Russia, the relationships, the macro stuff. And again, he's a Naval Academy graduate, so he's well versed, entrepreneur, investor, kind of like a fund manager. He's been all over, travels all over. That's his life. He doesn't, he's like, hey, I don't have a family. I've been doing this for 20 years, and traveling the world. He's been to like 40 countries, and specifically, basically, has been building towards this time where the system collapses, and we need good people to rebuild the system in this new future. So yeah, it's a pretty cool episode, and he's not someone I've actually we've had him on before, but no one really knows that because it was really when we started getting things going. So you won't be able to find it, but it was a couple years ago. But he's not like on anyone else's podcast. He's not. He might be going forward. Eventually, he probably will be on other people's pods and stuff like that, other Bitcoiners. But it's going to be a cool one. So I can't wait to see what you guys think. Just because he's so whip smart, and the audio is not awesome. It's better. I think I had my editor fix it a little bit, but he's literally in an undisclosed location. So the audio, like we had to stop like a bunch of times. It took like 3 or 4 hours to record the pod because him and I talked a bunch before and after the pod, and then it took like in 30 minutes or I don't even know, a while just with like interruptions because of the internet. So fascinating guy. Oh, thanks, Moon Guy. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. That means a lot. Yeah, Happy New Year, guys. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. It's going to be incredible end of this year. It's going to be incredible next year. Either way, no matter what happens, we're going to be here for it, guys. We're the couple percent that are going to pull the rest of society forward. All that matters is good people locking arms, joining up together, and pulling society forward. That's all that matters. Steve Jobs didn't ask and say, you know what? Do you guys think you would like the iPhone? No, he just went and did it. George Washington didn't say, you know what, King, I really would like my freedom, so if you're not going to let me have it, though, I just won't do it. No, that's not what happened. That's not how life works. The people that lock arms, join together towards freedom, towards innovation, they're on the side of truth. It might be bumpy in the interim, but that's what pulls through, and that's how we do this. It's not, again, us in the Western world, I speak for myself, maybe some of you in the West, some of you in America, it's been, overall, generally speaking, it's been a pretty easy ride, and it makes us atrophy, and none of us, to a large extent, have seen a lot of bad stuff, a lot of hard times. And these are the times that try men's souls, as Thomas Paine said. Are we going to accept the tyranny? Are we going to accept our demise, stripping of liberties over and over and over again, beaten in the face over and over? Or do you eventually say enough's enough? And when does that happen? Does it have to happen 100 more times, 10 more times, one more time? Minnesota tax fraud case, is that it? Is that the breaking point? Or does it have to really hit you in the face? So here we are. Which way are we going to be? Which way are we going to go, Anon? Appreciate those words, though. A ton, Moon Guy. That means a lot. Try to be different. I try to be, again, I know there's a fair amount of Bitcoin podcasts out there. We need more, ironically. But at the same time, try to be different. Try to talk about some different stuff. We're gonna have a lot of different people on the podcast this year. We already have a lot of people scheduled that have never been on the pod before. Some macro people, energy people. Like I said, I think I mentioned Doomberg. I'm interviewing Doomberg in a week or so. We already have Samson Mao, Tony Yazbek, Caitlin Long. Got a bunch of people already lined up for quarter 1. A couple more people I won't say yet. Interesting people. We're gonna have some interesting conversations. And it's gonna be a good year. It's gonna be a good year overall for everything. I'm excited. If we track sideways in 26, I think the next halving event will front run in maybe 27. Yeah, man, that would be fascinating though if we did that, because that would just completely obliterate like all the cycles, like everything. That would be really interesting. All the cycle theories, all the different 3 greens, 1 red, or in the cycle theory, the 4-year cycle, like it would just completely be inverted at that point because we had the first all-time high USD high price before this halving, and then like if it happens a year before this time instead of like a couple months before, it would just be wild. That would be fun though. That would be, again, just more like chaos. Why not? It's Bitcoin. Can't wait for the next drop. Thanks, Pack. Really digging this no thrills, no BS content. Thanks, Brandon. Happy New Year, all. I appreciate that, Pack. That means a lot. I appreciate this because I get to talk to you guys, and just we get to build community together and talk, and I get to see if I'm crazy. I get to see if you guys are crazy. Get to see if we're all crazy. And the podcast, I I know I talk too much at times, and I try to let the guests speak. So I like the podcast, I like the live stream because we get to share the people on the podcast, and then I get to talk more, get out my thoughts. That way, I don't bore my wife to death with talking about all these things, and I get to actually just spout it out. So we'll be doing more live streams, obviously this year too. The last couple months we've been doing a bunch, but we'll probably be doing at least 2 to 3, a minimum a week, I would say, going forward as well. And talking about a lot of different stuff, trying longer ones, short ones. I do want to do like a 6, 8, 10 hour live stream at one point this year. I think that's a 2026 goal as well. And just have like a running stream all day long. Maybe we'll have to pick like a good day, like a special day or something like that. So we're going to have amazing podcast guests. Because some books come out this year in 2026 that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. Some readable ones, not like really wonky ones, but readable ones. Hopefully for the average person, the average guy or gal to sink their teeth into. Some shorter ones as well. More like long pamphlet, like a pamphlet, if you will. So I think you guys will really appreciate that. Thinking things through first principle, just things like that. So I don't want to give too much away, but I think you guys will enjoy it. But the guests, the live streams, kind of what we have planned there, and some of the, I don't know, call it resources, books, content, whatever it is. I think you guys really enjoy it. So look out for Cameron tomorrow. I appreciate you guys a ton. It's getting late here. I'm losing my voice. And look out. Yeah, I want to know what you guys think of Cameron, though. This is going to be a very interesting pod. Have an awesome new year. Can't believe it's already the end of 2025. And it's going to be an amazing 2026. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Pack, Cranstonator, Moon Guy, Hat Boy. Oh, man, it's moving too much now. A12K. Trying to find who else. I'm missing some. Crow. Stack the Dip. Drew. Appreciate you guys a ton. Sparkly Horns. Trini. Johnny. Midwest Packer. There's Johnny. Johnny's one of the OGs. He's been watching my stuff for years now, 3 or 4 years, I think, right about there. Appreciate you, brother. 2026 is going to be amazing. Can't wait for you guys to see the Cameron interview. We will see you guys probably Thursday, maybe New Year's, or Friday. Friday at the latest. We'll be doing our live stream for sure. Thursday or Friday at the latest. Cameron is dropping tomorrow. Have a great evening. Great end of the year. Let's go. Big 2026 coming.